Discover the incredible moment a black millionaire CEO turns harassment into heartwarming triumph. The lights glimmered like stars against the backdrop of the downtown Atlanta skyline. Gourmet scents teased the air, and laughter spilled from the tongues of well-dressed elites sipping fine champagne. But for Marcus Williams, standing tall in his tailored suit, the glamour felt foreign. He was a self-made millionaire, born to a janitor, and now the CEO of a thriving tech company. But despite his achievements, the whispers snaked around him like shadows, every curious glance marked with a hint of disbelief. As he strode through the crowd, he could feel the weight of their stares, some questioning, others dismissive. Is he really the CEO? They seemed to ask silently. A tightness gripped his chest, battling the pride he fought so hard to maintain. Struggling to navigate a space meant for the elite, Marcus felt like an imposter in a suit that felt too expensive, too much. That he caught sight of Aisha across the room, her graceful spirit illuminating the gathering. His wife, with her warm smile and unwavering belief in him, anchored his spirit. They had built a life together, and their 2 daughters were a constant reminder of what was truly important. Yet here he was, lost in an ocean of strangers, their laughter ringing hollow against the backdrop of his own insecurities. "Dad!" His daughters chirped, eyes shining with admiration. In that moment, the initial thrill of success dimmed. The world of millionaires had not softened the harsh realities of prejudice. Life's deep-rooted biases still cast long shadows over every triumph he claimed. With heavy heart, Marcus contemplated retreating to what felt familiar, maybe stepping back from the company he built brick by brick. But Aisha, sensing the storm swirling within him, whispered words that ignited his spirit. "You can turn this around, baby. Show them that you are here for more than just yourself." And just like that, clarity washed over him. He envisioned a youth mentorship program, a beacon for underserved kids searching for their pathways. He could share his struggles, connect with them, and inspire dreams beyond the confines of their neighborhoods. Energized, he dove into organizing, determination simmering in his veins. The program blossomed into a vibrant community affair, becoming a sanctuary for kids eager to hear his story. They saw him not just as a millionaire CEO but as a reflection of their hopes and realities. Laughter returned to Marcus's life, laughter that echoed with resilience. Yet, as ripples of change pulsed through the community, he faced those who once doubted him. At a local gathering, surrounded by familiar faces, Marcus felt the weight of confrontation looming. They had to reckon with their biases. "Listen up everyone," he began, heart racing, eyes scanning the crowd. He felt the tension, a mix of anticipation and resistance. Just as he prepared to bare his soul, his gaze collided with that of an influential business leader who had once brushed him off. The air thickened, the moment felt electric. Could he find the forgiveness he sought? Would they finally grasp the journey of resilience behind his success? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Pulsating with emotion, Marcus faced the crowd. In that charged silence, a question hung palpably in the air: could the walls of prejudice finally crumble, giving way to understanding and connection? As the world held its breath, he stood poised to transform not only his narrative but that of an entire community. As Marcus stood before the crowd, he noticed how many faces shifted from doubt to intrigue. Conversations dulled, glasses held aloft were momentarily forgotten. It was a moment suspended in time, a collective breath taken in anticipation. His pulse quickened, and the memories of every challenge he had ever faced surged back. With a deep breath, he began. "You may not know what it cost me to stand here today," he started, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "It's taken years of battling against the beliefs people held about me, about us. It's been exhausting. But I'm here to tell you that every scar, every doubt, every hardship led me to this moment. He glanced at Aisha, who nodded encouragingly, then shifted his gaze to the kids in the front row. They were the embodiment of hope, a tapestry of dreams just waiting to be woven. You see those kids? They remind me of where I came from. They see possibilities in their future when they hear my story. And that's what drives me. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Curiosity turned into admiration, and his heart swelled. It was time to unveil the heart of the mentorship program, to share how it was changing lives. He spoke passionately about the work being done, the scholarships offered, and the impact it had on building self-esteem and ambition in children who otherwise might never know such support. As he shared details of the program, he noticed attentive faces, nods of approval, and whispers of acknowledgement. Behind the initial skepticism, there seemed to be a flicker of respect igniting. Slowly, he began to believe that this moment might not only change perceptions of him but also challenge the assumptions that had long held court in their community. Then, he took a leap of faith. I invite all of you, every business leader here, to join us in this mission. You have power. Leverage it for our youth. Stand by me, not just as colleagues in business, but as allies in this fight for opportunity. A silence followed his words. He could feel the waves of uncertainty but also the stirrings of inspiration. And then, from the back of the room, a voice broke through, one of skepticism, yet curious. What if this doesn't work? What if it's just a nice idea? Marcus recognized the voice immediately. It belonged to Gerald, the influential leader who had once written him off. But instead of shying away, Marcus stepped into the challenge. What if it does work? What if we change lives together? What if we reshape the future of our community? He held Gerald's gaze, willing him to understand the power of belief. Strangers became potential partners, old adversaries could be allies. The energy shifted. Murmurs turned into earnest discussions, and soon, hands began to rise interested, not just in his venture but in uniting to ensure its success. Each new partner added a layer of hope, their commitment echoing across the room. It was no longer just Marcus's vision, it was a shared mission, yet as the evening waned, Marcus could sense the lingering shadows. The past wasn't simply erased. Doubt still loomed, and he knew he'd need to keep fighting, not just for the kids but for himself. As he left the stage, buoyed by the emotions around him, he wondered if he'd truly begun to mend those old wounds. Could he heal the biases that haunted him and others? There, standing amongst friends and former skeptics, he realized that the journey was just beginning. What would he do next to ensure that this was more than a fleeting moment of inspiration? What would it take to spark genuine change at the heart of the community? The answers lay ahead, waiting for him at the intersection of hope and challenge, ready to unfold. The following weeks felt like a whirlwind to Marcus. The momentum from his presentation had ignited an unexpected fire in the community, drawing support from all corners. Meetings were scheduled, committees formed, and plans drawn up. He found himself in discussions with people he had once deemed untouchable, and it was both thrilling and terrifying. As he walked into the office one morning, he noticed the walls adorned with vibrant posters drawn by the children, each piece of art a reflection of dreams and aspirations. It reminded him why he began this journey. For a brief moment, he smiled, soaking in the joy of the potential ahead. But then doubt would creep in. Was this excitement just a flash in the pan? His phone buzzed with a message from Aisha, "Let us meet later. I believe we're onto something big." The words filled him with both hope and concern. How could they keep the energy alive? At their meeting, Aisha laid out a plan to reach out to local businesses, hoping to secure more funding and mentorship opportunities. "We need to show them how investing in these kids benefits everyone," she emphasized, her eyes sparkling with determination. But do they really care? Marcus couldn't hide his skepticism. What if they draw back when they realize the commitment involved? She leaned forward, her voice steady. "That's what we need to change, Marcus. We need to show them what's at stake. These kids are more than just projects, they're the future. Let us make them understand that. Her conviction lit a spark within him. Together, they crafted a presentation aimed at local businesses, combining statistics with compelling stories. They highlighted children who had received scholarships, showcasing how lives had transformed. On the day of the presentation, the energy in the room was palpable. Marcus paced back and forth backstage, heart pounding. This was a chance to solidify their support and prove that their mission was about real change. Aisha squeezed his hand for reassurance before they walked out together. The crowd was noticeably different this time. They were eager, invested, and he hoped ready to make a difference. Marcus opened with a story about a young girl named Mia. Mia dreams of being a writer, yet her family struggles to make ends meet. With your help, we can provide her the tools to succeed, not just for herself, but for generations. As he spoke, he watched heads nod in understanding. He could see the flickers of commitment igniting again. It was as if the walls of doubt were slowly coming down. Immediately after the presentation, interested parties approached them, expressing their eagerness to participate. The excitement was infectious, and Marcus felt his spirits lift. Yet, in the chaos of the post-presentation discussions, a familiar figure caught his eye. Gerald was standing at the back of the room, arms crossed. Something about his posture hinted at disapproval. As the crowd buzzed with excitement, Gerald stepped forward, and the room's energy shifted. While I admire the passion here, I have to ask. He paused, voice steady but challenging, what happens when the funds run dry? Are you prepared to keep this going? Marcus's heart sank. Gerald's words stung, and he felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. What if he hadn't thought this through? What if they were just building castle in the air? Aisha, sensing the tension, took a step forward. We're ready for that challenge, she declared, her tone unyielding. This is just the beginning. We're entire communities standing together. But Marcus couldn't shake the weight of Gerald's skepticism. Was hope enough? As the room buzzed around him, Marcus felt his resolve begin to waver. Unanswered questions loomed, and one lingered above all: could they truly build something lasting? And just as he pondered the future, an unexpected invitation appeared on his phone. Marcus, what do you think about a community-wide fundraiser? Let us get the entire neighborhood involved. The prospect felt promising, yet terrifying. Would it really galvanize support or highlight their weaknesses? He took a deep breath, clutching the phone, feeling the weight of the moment. This was it. The decision could change everything for him and the kids they fought for. What would he choose? In the silence that followed, the room felt heavy with anticipation, and somewhere deep within, he knew he stood at another crucial crossroad. The days that followed were a blur of preparation. Marcus and Aisha dove into planning the community fundraiser, their excitement palpable. They brainstormed ideas, scribbling notes that blossomed into colorful posters. Each one was a promise, a visual commitment to the kids they wanted to uplift. Marcus could feel the adrenaline coursing through him as ideas bounced back and forth between them. Let us call it Dream Big Day. Aisha suggested one afternoon, her enthusiasm contagious. Yeah. We could have activities, showcase local talent, and share the stories that brought us all here, Marcus added, his eyes lighting up. As they painted their vision, word spread quickly about the fundraiser. Flyers went up everywhere: cafes, schools, even crowded corners of the local park. A wave of energy rippled through the community. Kids hopped on their bikes, families gathered in groups to discuss, and familiar glares of skepticism began to soften. Yet, with every step forward, Marcus felt that lingering doubt creep back in. What if they fell short? What if the turnout wasn't what they needed? His late-night thoughts often tumbled down that dark rabbit hole, and he struggled to get them under control. One evening, as the sun dipped low in the horizon, he sat on the porch deep in thought when his phone buzzed. It was a text from a local business owner he barely knew, asking for a meeting. Grabbing his jacket, he felt his heart race. Was this a potential partner? Or another voice to add to his growing list of concerns? The meeting was set in a small bakery, the air thick with the scent of fresh bread and pastries. He spotted Mrs. Thompson, the owner, bustling behind the counter. She was beloved in the neighborhood for her warmth and kindness, and her presence put him at ease. "Marcus!" she exclaimed, wiping her flour-dusted hands on her apron as she approached. "I heard about your fundraiser. I think it's wonderful. We'd love to help." Her sincerity hit him like a wave. "You mean it? You'd really want to get involved?" "Absolutely. We can donate baked goods for a food stall and help spread the word through our customers," she beamed. A surge of hope bolted through Marcus. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That really means a lot." As they continued to talk, he felt layers of doubt peel away. It reminded him of the camaraderie that existed when a community rallied together for a common cause. Weeks passed, and as the event approached, the town transformed. Flyers plastered shop windows, kids could be seen selling lemonade on street corners, fundraisers began to pop up like daisies, and Marcus began to believe this might actually happen. On the day of the fundraiser, excitement buzzed through the air. Marcus arrived early, taking in the vibrant booths dotted around the park, each one brimming with laughter and hope. Aisha stood by one of the crafting stations, guiding kids as they painted their own dreams on canvases. "Look at this!" she called out to him, her joy infectious. But just as he felt elation settle in, his eyes darted across the park and landed on a familiar figure, Gerald, standing slightly to the side, arms crossed again. This time the expression on his face was unreadable, and anxiety twisted in Marcus's stomach. Was he there to critique? To cast doubt upon the day? Pressing his lips together, Marcus walked closer. "Hey, Gerald," he greeted, forcing a smile despite the storm brewing in his chest. "What do you think?" Gerald unfolded his arms, but his eyes bore the weight of scrutiny. "I'm curious to see if it'll live up to the hype," he replied, a hint of challenge in his tone. "Just wait and see," Marcus shot back, surprising himself with the fierce determination in his voice. He took a deep breath and turned away, knowing the day's success didn't rest on one person's opinion. As laughter chimed through the air and children danced with painted faces, Marcus felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt for a while: hope. But deep down, the seeds of doubt still lingered. What if this day wasn't enough? What if their dreams flickered out just like that? He pushed those thoughts aside. Today was about the community, about every child dreaming of a brighter future. With every smile around him, it reminded him sometimes, hope needed to be ignited, even if the doubts lingered. And then, through the laughter, a voice rose above the crowd: "It's time for the open mic." The invitation hung in the air, filled with the promise of stories and raw emotion. Marcus felt a rush of adrenaline. What stories would come pouring out? But more importantly, whose face would reveal the triumph of hope that day? The crowd shifted as people gathered excitedly around the makeshift stage, an old wooden crate adorned with colorful cloth. Marcus's heart raced. This was the moment he had been waiting for. A chance for voices to rise, for stories to connect, and for dreams to be shared. Aisha nudged him, her eyes sparkling. "Let us go up there together," she suggested, her face lighting up with anticipation. "What? Us?" Marcus replied, taken aback. He could feel the nervous flutter in his stomach. The thought of stepping onto that stage felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. "Yeah. We need to inspire them, just like they'll inspire us." He couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. With a nod, they climbed onto the stage. Together, they stood in front of the microphone, the sun breaking through the clouds just enough to warm their faces. "Welcome, everyone." Marcus's voice cut through the noise. "Today is all about our dreams, our stories, and how we can lift each other up. This isn't just about us, it's about every one of you." The crowd cheered back, a wave of energy crashing over him. Aisha jumped in, sharing her vision for the community, how they all could create a brighter future for the children. As the first acts took the stage, Marcus felt the tension in his body loosen. A young girl stepped up with a guitar, her small hands trembling slightly. But when she began to play, her voice soared, filling the park with hope. Marcus exchanged glances with Aisha, both of them beaming. The open mic transformed into a tapestry of stories and songs, kids sharing dreams of becoming doctors, artists, engineers. One boy told a story about overcoming fear. Another danced with such passion that it moved everyone closer to tears. Each performance was a testament to resilience, and as the sun dipped lower, a warm orange glow painted the park. "Isn't this amazing?" Aisha whispered, leaning in closer. "Look at everyone coming together. It's like we're creating a family." Marcus nodded, but a familiar worry tugged at his heart. Were they truly making an impact? Did this mean anything beyond those moments? He pushed the thoughts aside, determined to embrace the beauty of the day. As the performances continued, he spotted Gerald again, standing at the edge of the crowd. His arms were no longer crossed. Instead, he was leaning in, listening intensely. There's hope, Marcus thought. Change was happening. Finally, the last act stepped up a young boy, his eyes wider than saucers. "I just want to say thank you," he said into the microphone, voice quivering yet filled with sincerity. "For believing in dreams, for believing in us." There was a hush, and then an eruption of applause. Marcus felt a tear slip down his cheek, not of sadness but rather overwhelming joy. This was why they had worked so hard. This was why they had poured their hearts into it. Aisha squeezed his hand. "We did it, Marcus. Look around, it's beautiful." But just then, the sound of the crowd silenced, and all eyes turned to Gerald, who took a step forward. "I've got something to say." The air shifted, anticipation and tension filled the space. What would come next? Would it be praise or criticism? Marcus's heart thudded in his chest. "Let us hear what he has to say," Aisha murmured, curiosity mixing with concern. Gerald cleared his throat, looking around. "I didn't think this would mean much," his voice faltered for just a moment. "But I was wrong. This is important. We need more of this." Marcus felt a spark of hope ignite within him. But as he stood there, waiting for Gerald to continue, another thought crept in. Would this be the turning point for their community, or simply a fleeting moment in time? The truth of the matter lingered in the air, heavy with potential. And as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, he felt the world tilt with possibility. What if this was just the beginning? The journey was far from over. But just as they were about to dive deeper into the moment, a sudden commotion broke out at the back of the crowd. Marcus turned, heart racing again, wondering what could possibly happen next. Marcus spun around, feeling the rush of adrenaline shoot through him once more. The cheerful atmosphere of the park seemed to buckle under the weight of something unsettling. Shouts pierced through the rising excitement, and heads turned like flowers toward the sun. At the rear of the gathering, two men were heatedly arguing, their voices rising above the gentle hum of the crowd. The laughter and cheers quickly faded, replaced by murmurs of confusion and concern. Marcus's stomach twisted. He had hoped this would be a day of inspiration, not conflict. "Is everything okay?" Aisha asked, her voice low and wary. I don't know," he replied, trying to be calm. "Let us see if we can help." With Aisha by his side, Marcus carefully weaved his way through the crowd, feeling the palpable tension grip the air like a vice. As he drew closer, he could see one of the men, his face flushed with anger, pointing at a woman who stood beside him. The woman looked frightened, her hands nervously clutching her belongings. "Get away from her!" Aisha suddenly shouted, stepping forward. "What is going on?" The man turned, surprised by Aisha's fierce tone. "This isn't your business," he barked, his voice gruff. Marcus stepped in front of Aisha instinctively, wanting to protect her. "We're here to support each other. Whatever's happening, we can figure it out together." The crowd began to shift uneasily, eyes darting from Marcus to Aisha to the two men and back again. The energy had transformed from one of celebration to uncertainty, and Marcus could feel the heat of their stares weighing heavily on him. "There are no winners in this," the other man said, frustration etched on his face. "We just want to talk to her about what she did." "Talking? It looks more like harassment to me," Aisha countered, her resolve unshaken. "What was she doing?" Marcus pressed, trying to calm the situation without escalating it further. "She took our basketball." The first man accused. "Said girls shouldn't play." Gasps echoed from the crowd, and anger flickered in the eyes of several onlookers. Marcus felt his heart sink. It was one thing for people to argue over ideals, it was something entirely different to belittle each other on such an emotional level. "Listen," Marcus spoke up, raising his voice to draw attention. "Everyone here deserves respect, regardless of what they choose to do. We are here to lift each other up, not tear each other down." Slowly, murmurs of agreement began to rise from the crowd, and Marcus could see Gerald at the edge, nodding fervently. The angry man seemed to halt his verbal assault, and in that moment of silence, the tension felt as if it was released. "Maybe we should just talk it out," he conceded, his shoulders slumping slightly as if he was suddenly aware of the eyes on him. Aisha took a step forward, showing courage as she smiled at the woman. "Let us all sit down and figure this out. We're here to stand together, not apart." A moment of stillness enveloped them, and it seemed the air had lightened. With support and mutual respect palpable in the air, the crowd inched closer, forming a circle around the conflict, ready to hear what happened next. But as they began to settle in for this unexpected dialogue, Marcus noticed a shadow forming at the edge of the park, far from the unity blossoming before him. A figure in a crisp suit watched from afar, his expression inscrutable but potent enough to send a chill down Marcus's spine. Who was he, and what role would he play in this already tangled day? The crowd was buzzing now, an electric hum of anticipation. Marcus glanced back at the woman, who looked less fearful now, the tension slowly dissipating from her demeanor as people gathered around her. He could feel Aisha's hand brushing against his, a silent reminder that he wasn't alone in this. "Okay, let us talk this out," the second man said, gesturing toward the woman. "Maybe we got a bit carried away." "Maybe?" Marcus interjected, his voice steadier than he felt. "You were ready to confront her like she was some kind of criminal. That's not okay." The murmurs swelled, some in agreement, some remaining cautious. The weight of their eyes felt heavy, but Marcus stood firm. Deep inside, he hoped this would lead to understanding rather than just a patch over a wound. "I'm here because I love basketball," the woman spoke up, her voice soft but gaining strength. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I thought I could just join in, you know. I wanted to make friends." The crowd softened, the anger in the air melting into confusion. There was a universal connection, everyone had felt that yearning to be part of something. Marcus could see the realization dawning on the faces of the men, it was hard to stay angry when someone was just trying to reach out. "Maybe we all need to remember that we're on the same team," Aisha said, her eyes sparkling with a glimmer of hope. "Let us lift each other up instead of pushing each other down, especially in a place like this." Just as the atmosphere began to shift, a loud cough startled them. The figure in the suit stepped forward, the crowd parting like water. He was tall and imposing, with an air of authority that seemed to pull eyes to him. Marcus felt a wave of unease wash over him again. "What is going on here?" the man demanded, his tone sharp and penetrating. "We were just trying to resolve a misunderstanding," Marcus started, but the man's icy stare silenced him. "I don't have time for this," the man replied, turning toward the two bickering men. "If you think you can handle this on your own, you're mistaken. Unity is only as strong as its weakest link." The crowd shifted again, a ripple of anxiety weaving through the people standing nearby. Who was this guy? "Maybe you should hear the woman out too," Aisha shot back, her voice strong as she stepped in front of Marcus protectively. The courage in her words sent a wave through the gathering, as heads nodded in quiet agreement. "Yeah, let us hear her perspective," Gerald called from the back, and one by one, voices started rising up in support of the woman, drowning out the looming figure in the suit. Everyone deserves a chance to speak. Marcus exclaimed, feeling a newfound sense of unity in their voices. The man in the suit crossed his arms, but the defiance radiating from the crowd was overpowering. As the circle around them began to pulse with collective energy, Marcus turned back to the woman. "Please, go on," he encouraged. She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with gratitude. "I just wanted to play to show that we can all belong together. We all deserve that chance, don't we?" The crowd erupted in supportive cheers, and even the two men seemed taken aback. Marcus felt a surge of pride for everyone standing there. He kept his eyes on the stranger in the suit, trying to gauge his next move. But just as the atmosphere began to thaw into something remarkable, the man's expression transformed. It was now a smirk, sharp like ice. "I think we need to talk about how this will be handled," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. This isn't over. Marcus's heart sank. What had started as hope was shifting again, like a tide drawing something ominous closer. What was the man planning, and would their moment of unity survive his interference? The crowd stood frozen, uncertainty flickering like a candle's flame in the back of their eyes. Marcus felt Aisha's grip tighten, a symbol of shared strength as she held her ground beside him. The woman looked around, and for a moment, it felt as if the air was thick with a collective heartbeat. "Listen," the man in the suit said, his demeanor solid and surpassingly composed. "This isn't just about basketball. It's about standards, responsibility, and discipline. Does that mean anything to you? Or do you all just think being part of the team means nobody gets held accountable?" A wave of murmurs surged through the crowd. Marcus felt the tension rise again, like a balloon inflating to its limit. Were they going to let this man crush their moment of connection? He could see several faces turning anxious, others appearing torn. "We get it. You're the boss of some big organization," someone shouted from the back. "But we're just regular people trying to connect. This isn't about control, it's about community." There was a raw sincerity in those words that resonated across the throng. Marcus clenched his fists. How did it come to this? A chance at unity, now held hostage by one person's need to exert power, but just then, the woman stepped forward, a quiet fire igniting behind her eyes. "You're right," she said, her voice steady despite the tremors around her. "It's not just about playing basketball. It's about understanding one another, no matter our differences. You don't see us. You only see what you want to control." The gathered crowd fell silent, taken aback by her courage. Marcus felt something warm thaw inside him. Maybe this wasn't just a power play. Maybe it was an awakening. "Standards can exist alongside empathy," Marcus added, his words spilling out before he could reconsider. "We're here, willing to learn from one another. But that involves listening." The man's smirk faded slightly, replaced by an expression that Marcus couldn't quite place. Was it annoyance? Or perhaps a flicker of something else? "I can see this is going to be problematic then," the man said, his voice lowering slightly, betraying traces of doubt. "Are you all really prepared to throw caution to the wind?" "Caution?" Aisha replied, stepping into the fray confidently. "We're looking for connection, not division. Maybe that's what you need to understand. We're offered this chance together." The crowd began to buzz again, but this time with a spirit of determination. Marcus could hear whispers of agreement, voices lifting one another. They were united in hope. "What if we scheduled a game? A real game, with everyone invited," the woman suggested. "Let's create that environment of belonging together." Murphy, one of the men who had initially confronted the woman, nodded slowly, caught up in the spirit. "Yeah. I'd be up for that. We could set the rules together." The man in the suit's features tightened. "You're making a mistake. Just know, if it doesn't go your way, I'll be here to remind you of that." "Then do what you must," Marcus said boldly, feeling the backing of those around him. "But we're not stopping now. We're building something that's bigger than any misunderstanding." Something real. As the suit-wearing man turned on his heel, Marcus glanced at the woman, her face radiant with newfound hope. The crowd felt electric, infused with the possibility of what they could create together. But would their newfound momentum withstand the scrutiny that loomed ahead? What challenges waited around the corner, concealed just out of sight? The air crackled with energy as the crowd dispersed, but a tension lingered, like the heavy silence after a storm. Marcus felt a knot form in his stomach, an unease digging beneath the surface. What had they just done? Initiating a game was bold, but their opponent the man in the suit was still hovering in the shadows. Aisha caught his eye, and he could see the flicker of uncertainty mirrored there. Do you think we can really pull this off? It's not just about the game, Marcus replied, trying to quell the flutter in his chest. It's about what it represents. We can show them we're more than just numbers in a box they want to control. Around them, small groups formed, whispering and plotting. Some were still skeptical, scanning the edges of their gathering for signs of disapproval. Others caught the spark of enthusiasm, passing the suggestion of a game like wildfire. "Hey, time to get some boards up!" shouted a voice. "We need to reach out to the local youth teams. The schools. Everyone needs to feel included. Count me in." Another exclaimed, a man bursting forward with a determined gleam in his eyes. "I'll talk to my folks at the community center. We can spread the word." Smiles broke out, laughter began to pepper their discussions, and as they shared ideas, it was impossible to ignore the tangible shift in the atmosphere. They could become something greater than themselves. Despite this surge of positivity, Marcus felt the weight of doubt lurking. "Do you really think this will change anything?" he asked Aisha softly, stepping away from the group's excitement for a moment of clarity. "It has to," she said with a fierce light. "If we don't try, we're letting fear win. We've got to show that it's us who decides what this community stands for." As they joined the others, planning a schedule and rules, Marcus couldn't help but think about the man in the suit. He remembered his arrogance, that dismissive demeanor that seemed to suggest he had already deemed their efforts worthless. "Damn it," he muttered under his breath. "We need to show him that we're not backing down." Hours passed, and as dusk began to settle, the group strategized. They focused on promoting unity, turning their concerns into a blueprint for something real. Flyers were designed, social media posts crafted, and deadlines established. Even as the day waned, the laughter and the chatter only grew louder. People committed to bringing friends, family, and even friends of friends. They were excited about the game, yes, but also about what it stood for: hope, resilience, and a chance to be seen. In that moment, Marcus felt buoyed by purpose. He could see Aisha laughing with others, her spirit infectious. She had uplifted them all, but a shadow loomed behind her laughter. The question remained, would their connection withstand the scrutiny of those fighting for control? As they wrapped up for the night, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his heartbeat quickening. It was a message from an unknown number, but the words sent a chill down his spine. "I hope you know what you're getting yourselves into. The game won't just be yours to decide." His breath hitched in his throat. What had they stirred? What consequences were coming? They ignited a spark, but what would it take to keep that fire alive? The atmosphere buzzed with excitement on the day of the game. The field was adorned with colorful banners, a blend of bright colors swirling around the stands. Families congregated, laughter echoing in the warm sun as kids chased one another beneath the open sky. Marcus stood at the entrance, his heart racing, a mixture of hope and anxiety swirling within him. This was more than just a game. This was proof of change, proof that they could stand together. Aisha peered at him through the crowd, her radiant smile cutting through the haze of doubt. "It's happening!" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Look at everyone. They're here for us, for the kids." He grinned back, drawn in by her infectious enthusiasm. But just as he felt buoyed by the unity surrounding him, a shadow caught his eye: the man in the suit, standing at the edge of the field with an all-too-familiar smirk plastered across his face. Panic welled inside him. Why did he have to come? Whatever he has planned, we can't let it ruin this, Marcus whispered to Aisha, steeling himself for potential confrontation. We're not backing down. Just focus on the kids, Marcus. It's their day, she advised, squeezing his hand tightly as they made their way toward the field, the cheers of the crowd enveloping them. As the whistle blew and the game kicked off, cheers erupted. It felt electric. Teams of all ages, boys and girls, weaving through the field, dribbling balls and erupting with laughter. Faces lit up with joy, dreams were being played out as the crowd roared their support. For those moments, every doubt, every whisper of negativity felt like clouds dissipating under the bright sun. Marcus looked around, catching glimpses of the community, people who had once whispered words of doubt now standing shoulder to shoulder, united by the simple joy of the game. He felt a swell of pride, his heart swelling with each cheer. Even Jerry, the once skeptical business leader, had rolled up his sleeves to help out. He was yelling for the kids, his voice an unexpected cheerleader for the cause. Just then, the whistle blew for a timeout, and excitement rippled through the crowd. It was time for stories. A local girl stepped up to the mic, her voice shaking as she shared how basketball gave her confidence, a confidence she never thought she'd have. Thanks to all of you, I know I belong here, she said before the crowd erupted in applause. More voices followed, men, women, and children, each one standing to share their connection to the game or their own struggles. The heartfelt stories filled the air with warmth, drowning the lingering criticism floating at the edge of Marcus's mind. They were rallying, turning negativity into celebration. Then, as the game resumed, the man in the suit, whom Marcus had tried to keep at bay, strode toward the center field. Well, he began, raising a hand to quiet the broadcasted cheers. While I admire the enthusiasm here, I must say, this game is not sustainable. The efforts you're putting forward are admirable but naive. A hush fell over the crowd, tension slicing through the atmosphere like a knife. Look, Marcus yelled, stepping forward, heart pounding in his chest, this isn't about you. It's about these kids, about what we're building together. We can push back against the odds. The man smirked, a glimmer of amusement crossing his face. Can you truly? Yeah, we can. Aisha yelled from the sidelines, her voice strong and unwavering. If we don't fight for our futures, who will? The crowd erupted again, voices lifting in agreement, the fear dissipating. Let them play. One parent cried out. Let them dream. Called another. For a moment, the man's confidence faltered. The power of their unity made him hesitate, but he quickly masked it with a sardonic grin. I see. Looks like they're all in, he conceded mockingly, leaning back. But it can't last. Life won't play fair. Life is about making your own rules, Marcus retorted boldly. With that, a murmur of approval spread through the crowd. The energy lifted, the unease folding around them, reminding them that disappointments were part of their journey forward. As the final moments ticked down in the game, the score grew less important than the message woven through every dribble and cheer. Hope flourished in every child's laughter, it lingered in the air, creating bridges of unity that nothing could tear down. When the final whistle blew, the crowd erupted into jubilant cheers. They had done it. Standing amidst the roaring joy, Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. They'd proven to one another they could come together, weave their lives through shared strength and purpose. With his family beside him, Marcus stood onto the stage, feeling the electricity of the moment. Aisha clasped his hand, their daughters bouncing in excitement. Thank you all for being part of today, he began, his voice steady, laced with emotion. We showed ourselves that we can rise together, that our struggles give way to dreams. This is just the beginning. As cheers erupted, the shadows that had once threatened the day faded away, replaced with the bright light of hope. The man in the suit had vanished into the crowd, and whatever doubt he represented melted with him. The day closed not only with triumphant spirit but with a promise for the future. They had transformed far more than a game, they showed that even in the midst of challenges, their community could unite. They stood together, ready to carve out their own futures, lifted by the laughter of children and the dreams blossoming around them. Sometimes, it just takes one moment to turn harassment into hope, and that day, they had built a bridge that everyone together could walk across. So now, are you ready to join that journey with us? Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that call for change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help share this incredible transformation. Comment below with your reactions and feelings. How has this story inspired you, and most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold in their lives. This is the moment to show your support, so don't wait not even one more second. Let us spread hope together.